All right, Shalom. There's your brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah. And a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwat, who are believing this word, and all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwat is sisters. Shalom means peace. And Yasher Allah is Israel in ancient Paleo Hebrew. All right, before I begin this lesson, let me start with this precept. This is Romans chapter 1 and 17. And it reads, "For therein is the righteousness of Yahweh Shema Shai revealed from faith to faith. As it is written, the just shall live by faith." All right, and that's what I entitled this lesson. All right, this lesson is inspired by this video of this guy, Brother Yerushalayim. For those who don't know, he does look familiar, and it's because he used to teach the truth. I'll just go over this real quick so you can kind of get an idea. You probably saw clips of these videos maybe 8 years ago. All right, and he's going into a lesson right here in this. Well, I won't even call it a lesson. He's basically announcing that he left the Israelites. This was 10 months ago. All right, and I want to touch certain points that he made because ultimately, as the scriptures say, the just shall live by faith. This reminds me of something that Elder Ariala says often, but it stuck out to me that this isn't an information grab, meaning just because a lot of information is being presented, that is not necessarily the point. All right, it's to stir up your mind by way of pure remembrance, meaning it's to stir up those who already have the seed of faith in them. But for those who think this is an information grab, when you get to the end of all that you think that you can know, and you don't have faith, it'll bug you out. All right, so let's listen to some of his testimony. All right, and then we'll get some scriptures. Lord willing, this is edifying.
And I'm like, okay, what is this about, man? I'm like, let me hear some more. So I keep listening to more videos, and I start seeing stuff about him going into the Deuteronomy, going into the curses, and I'm like, ooh, here we go. Now we're on some stuff. It start lining up, the Deuteronomy 28. If you're familiar with that, all the stuff going into slavery. I'm like, this matches up, right? This matches up. This has to be it right here. Give me more, right? Give me more. I'm hooked at that time. So one video turns into two videos turns into four videos into 30, and after 3 months, I had went through the entire video library of anything that had anything to do with Israelites, right? Because I was on it day and night. Waking up, I'm on it. I'm listening to videos. Going to sleep, I'm listening to videos. For a full 3 months straight, I had went through all of the library. And at that point, I had started keeping the Sabbath, right? I'm getting completely immersed into the Israelite doctrine, right? This is something that I have a strong conviction for at this time, super strong. You can't tell me anything. This is the truth. This is it, and I don't want to hear nothing else because y'all been hiding this from us. You know how it goes. The same type of stuff. It's like.
Now I want to stop here real quick. All right, and I want to grab a precept. This is Revelation chapter 10 and verse 9, and it reads, I'll start at 8. "And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel, and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it, and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey." All right, and we all go through the spirit, the honeymoon phase. You hear this truth, and you feel like you're late to the party. You feel like you're late to everything. You're trying to catch up. There's a excitement, of course. But as the scriptures say, in your belly it shall be bitter, because again, you weren't brought here to learn a whole bunch of information. Ultimately, you were brought here to suffer. All right. Those who are of the elect. Let's go here. Romans 8:16 reads, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh Shema Shai. And if children, then heirs, heirs of Yahweh Shema Shai, and joint heirs with Hamashiach. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. All right, so this is why it says that in your mouth it's going to be sweet, because you find out we're the chosen nation of people. We're above all nations. The Lord is coming back to save us. The Lord looks like us as a nation of people. These are beautiful things to hear, especially when you haven't heard this before, especially when you believed all manners of lies and deception. But one of the most important things to understand is what you're a part of, as Apostle Gabar brings out often. And Apostle Gabar says this often. It's sometimes just in passing that these guys or guys don't know what they're a part of, because ultimately that you weren't given this truth to look deep. You were ultimately given this truth through the Spirit, Lord willing, to build up your faith that is already in you. That is a gift that's already in you. All right. This is the parable of the sower. When you deal with the seed that's fell on good ground and the stony ground. All right. But when you first get this information through the Spirit, of course, it's exciting. You understand. But then as you toil, you understand why it becomes bitter in your belly, because you still have to suffer. You have to, with patience, wait for all things to come to pass through the Spirit. All right. And that requires faith, because ultimately everything concerning information doesn't hold a candle to faith. The scriptures talk about better is one whose understanding is small, but fear of the Lord. Fearing the Lord is one and the same as having faith. And ultimately that's what this all boils down to. It boils down to faith. All right. Because what you can basically get the gist of is that, he was excited about gathering information. And it's just like somebody who starts a Netflix series. You want to watch every episode, and then, you can't wait to get to the end of it, to see the conclusion of it. This isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. All right. And the marathon, the prize at the end through the Spirit, all right, isn't necessarily you get a doctorate, and no, you've endured through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai all the trials and perils. The information that we receive through the Spirit, the understanding of the history and the breakdowns, is to build up the faith that's already in the elect. All right, this is Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 1. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. This was always our problem as a nation of people. It was faith. A perfect example is let's go here. Matthew 16 and 1. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. Now you have to keep in mind the Pharisees and the Sadducees were considered learned men. These were men who basically, for the most part, were able to dedicate their life to learning. They were considered learned men. When you deal with Paul, he learned under Gamaliel, all right, who was expert in the letters, so to speak. Meaning these are men who spent a significant amount of time learning about the scriptures, and they were being confounded by what they, mockingly said was a carpenter's son. And I'm bringing that example out to show that it's not necessarily about the information. It is ultimately about the faith. That's what this is about. It's not about how deep you are, how many precepts you can recall. It's about your faith. The ministry is set up within itself to build up the faith of the elect, but the elect already possess faith. That is a gift. Matter of fact, let's go here. It's Ephesians 2 and 8. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of Yahweh Shema Shai. And what you notice is that when Yahweh Shai was on the earth, when he marveled, what did he marvel at? Let me see if I can get that real quick. Yep. Yeah. This is Matthew 8 and 10. You know what? I'll start at 9. Nope. I'll start at 8. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. When Yahushua heard it, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. Now, this was a Israelite, but his occupation was a centurion. All right, and the Lord was marveling at the faith that this man had in Yahushua. And I bring that out to show that Yahushua exhorted to have faith. He marveled at those who had faith. And then, Peter's a perfect example when he walked on water. All right, you of little faith, why did you doubt? And this breaks down to the foundation of what the Lord has been, showing us as a nation of people, beginning with the elect, that it ultimately boils down to the faith. It doesn't boil down to having a big information grab. And this is something that if you are in this for an information grab, you're going to quickly be tossed to and fro, because ultimately that faith is the foundation. That's your house being built on a rock. It's faith. All right. So let's continue a little bit more.
It was a very strong conviction. And like I said, I started keeping the Sabbath, fringes, got rid of the pork, started keeping the laws. I'm like, okay, so this is the reason why we're in this predicament. I'm going to do exactly what this thing is saying and what I'm supposed to do, because I don't want to be in the wrath of God. So I'm going to follow the instructions. And so I did. And after about 5-6 months in, I was already involved with a camp. And the camp they lived, or where the camp was at, it was about 4 hours from where I stayed at. So I used to drive down there every Sabbath. Every Sabbath I'd drive down, and I had finished video school during that time too. So what I did was I used to go down there with the camera and videotape the Sabbath class. And then I would go to camp afterwards and videotape the camp, drive back 4 hours, and then edit the videos and upload them. Right. So I was super serious about this thing. And I had no intentions on being a teacher or anything. I just want to know what's my part and what I can do to help get it out, help get this, what I thought was the truth out. So I even went and got circumcised, right? Paid for the surgery and everything. Like, I need whatever I need to do. Whatever I need to do, I'm about this thing. Right? So editing the videos, uploading it, I'm putting in the work, doing what I'm supposed to do. What I ended up running into were more questions as I began to study more and get more familiar and get really, really immersed in the doctrine and in the study. I started to understand it a lot more, and it became way more clear. When you get to a certain point of understanding of something, then you get to ask questions that further the conversation. So you go from starting out with the Deuteronomy 28 and those type of things, then you start to move. Your level of understanding starts to increase your ability to question. And so when I started to question certain things and certain interpretations, just asking questions, because, you don't want to, in my thought, I'm not trying to be a robot. I need to be able to, I'm trying to ask questions in being able to defend the doctrine or being able to defend my position for other people who are going to come asking these particular questions, right? I'm not looking for just a group that is a truth in. I'm looking to be able to defend it when they're coming with different questions and trying to hit me up with different things. What about this with this? So that's how I'm preparing and approaching it.
So he said that was how he was preparing and approaching it. All right. And again, the scriptures exhort us to defend the gospel, and this is what we do through the Spirit. But ultimately, it boils down to faith, you know. And this is why I wanted to touch this subject through the Spirit, because again, I'll never forget, Elder Ariala mentioning that this isn't about an information grab, because ultimately it boils down to your faith. It boils down to your ability to trust Yahweh Shema Shah. All right. And if this is an information grab, you'll end up like an individual like this who was only just looking to grab information and looking for something, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And not really understanding the mission. What is the actual mission? What is being exhorted? What is the message, especially for the time that we're in? This is why when you deal with our apostles and elders, their push is for prophecy. It's not to sell our people its culture. It's not to, try to have some extravagant festivals on this side, because there's an understanding of the times. You can kind of discern from this conversation that he understood Israelites being Israelites, but he didn't necessarily understand the time that we're in. And this is the problem with a lot of camps. They're able to teach Jake who they are, but they're not able to tell Jake the mission at hand. All right, let's go here. Let's go back to Matthew. So I want to go to Matthew 16. We read the first verse, so I'm going to read it again. It's Matthew 16:1. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times? And this is the importance of the prophets, to exhort concerning the signs of the times. What manner of persons ought ye to be? What time period are we in? Concerning the will and the agenda of the Heavenly Father. And this is why prophecy is the focal point. Yes, we're Israelites. We have a culture. We have a way of life. All right. And to the best of our ability, we rehearse the righteous acts. But ultimately, the faith of the elect is going to be in prophecy. All right. And the Lord's ability to save us from this condition. All right. Regardless of us falling short before knowing this truth. Meaning we have hope in the Lord's mercy. If that part isn't foundational to your understanding, you're going to be carried away. All right. Simply put. All right. This is Matthew 13:18. And it reads, hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one. Salakia. Matthew 13:19. All right. And it reads, when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns. All right, in verse 21, you can really apply to this situation. Because what's the root? The root is faith ultimately. The faith of the elect. All right, the just shall live by faith. This is the focal point of the elect waking up in these last days. It's based on the faith that they have in Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, Matthew 13:21 again reads, yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receives seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. All right, so you see the different examples. All right, and if it's not rooted in faith, ultimately, it's going to be cast to the side. All right, because it's not about how deep you are and how much you know. All right, and for this guy, this was an information grab for him. All right, this was an information grab for him. And once he got to a point, because he didn't have that, he wasn't rooted. All right, he started to contemn small matters. All right, because when you go into this video, he gives an example about counseling a guy dealing with divorce, and in the grand scheme of things concerning salvation in the time that we're in, that's a very small matter. But again, let's go here. This is Ecclesiastes 16, and no, you know what? Let's go here. So let me get this in the NLT. I mean the KJV 16:11. Yep. There's Ecclesiastes chapter 19:1. And it reads, a laboring man that is given to drunkenness shall not be rich, and he that contemneth small things shall fall by little and little. All right, because ultimately, the scriptures talk about not leaning into your understanding, not searching out things that are too hard for thee. And the scriptures give that exhortation for a reason. All right. Scriptures also say many are deceived by their own vain opinion. And this is why understanding what you're a part of and keeping the main thing is so important. All right, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 21. And it reads, I start at 20. For the power of the Lord is great, and he is honored of the lowly. Seek not out the things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee than men understand. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment. These things are written for a reason through the Spirit. All right. And these are examples, all right, of why it's important to not lean unto your own understanding. All right. Why it's important to not seek out things that are too hard for thee, because it could bug you out. There's a reason the scriptures talk about not going into unnecessary matters. We've been given things that are needful for salvation, but then you have Jake that'll try to go into the dimensions and the planets and things that are of no profit concerning salvation. Basically, unnecessary matters. All of those things will be revealed in due season. But what's important and needful in this time, the Lord has given it to us. But that requires faith. Hebrews 4 is so important because it says it wasn't mixed in faith with faith in them that heard it. You have to remember, those Israelites in the wilderness knew our history. They knew our lineage. They knew who we were. They saw miracles, but they did not possess faith. Likewise, in 2024, no matter how many videos you watch, no matter how much you learn or you desire to grab concerning information, if it's not mixed with faith, it will not profit. All right, now I want to get another point that he made, and I'll just start around the 19-minute mark, and this will be the last point.
But the difference is I have been doing it at a much higher level. And it took a longer time for me to realize that I had been doing it just at a much higher level.
And see, that happens as well. Jake is measuring their progress by how much they know. That happens a lot because that's the metric in the world. How competent you are in the subject, but when you come to this truth, it's completely different. This is why Yahushua is exhorted to endure unto the end, because you will go through many trials and tribulations. The elder brothers, the elders, Elder Yashawamba, Elder Ariala mentioned this as well. You hit a 5-year mark, you hit a 10-year mark, and these are staple marks because the trials become different. Not in the aspect of you having a harder exam to take, but the trials you actually have to endure become more difficult. And then your faith is strengthened. This is why faith is so important. All right, real quick, this is 2 Thessalonians 3 and 2. I'll start at 1. Finally, brethren, pray for us that the word of the Lord may have free course and be glorified, even as it is with you, and that we may be delivered from unreasonable and wicked men, for all men have not faith. And this is why you can tell somebody all day long about the truth. You can give them all the history, all the verses, all the breakdowns, and they still won't understand because all men have not faith. Likewise, you may have a guy he dureth for a moment. But when you look at his counsel, you hear his testimony, you can see that it was all about grabbing information. He wasn't actually rooted in what he was a part of. Because you have to be rooted in faith, and you also have to understand the will of the Lord. What is the will of the Lord? You can't just be obsessed with who we are as a nation of people. You also have to understand what the Lord is doing in the earth. Let's continue.
Than what the Christian has done, than how the Christian does it, because the Christian will take a verse and they'll just usually take just a verse and they'll run off and they'll create entire doctrines and churches off of that. The difference is I was doing it was a little bit more complex, precept upon precept. You're doing all these things, so it took a lot more time for me to catch it, that wow, I'm really doing this, and I'm rebuking them for doing it, but I'm still the one doing it. It's just at a more advanced level. And immediately I came to an understanding on a question that I had been asking myself for so long. And that question is, why are there so many church groups, Israelite sects? Why are there so many of these sects out there if everybody's reading from the same Bible?
And this shows you that he wasn't really rooted, because this is an easy question to answer if you understand the scriptures. Let's go here. This is Luke 12 and 51. It says, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth. I tell you, nay, but rather division. This is a milk scripture. And this is why it's important to have a foundation, because you can know a whole bunch about history and a whole bunch about Saturnalia and these wicked holidays and what they go back to historically. But if you're not grounded in the foundation, in the milk, you're going to be cast away, man. Because for those who are familiar with this guy, this guy did a lot of videos. He used to get lots of views. His clips are probably still up somewhere on the internet. Yet he didn't understand the basic scripture like Luke, the 12th chapter and the 51st verse, that the Lord came to bring division. This is why there's so many camps. This is why even when you deal with the Christians, there are so many denominations. The Lord wanted division. This is why understanding what the will of the Lord is so important. Knowing you're an Israelite is not the finish line, and this guy's a perfect example of that. All right, this is Ephesians chapter 5 and 15. I'll start at 14. Wherefore he saith, awake, thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Hamashiach shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. This shows you that just knowing you're Israelite, all right, and relishing in the culture of us being Israelites is not the finish line if you don't understand what the will of the Lord is. All right, let's go here. This is, let me see. I believe it's a Sirach 4. It is. Salakia. Let me see. Yep, Salakia. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 37 and 19. All right, and it reads, there is one that is wise and teacheth many, and yet is unprofitable to himself. All right, because the scriptures talk about being fully persuaded in your own mind, but you also have to understand what you're a part of. All right, this is faith is key. You know, and the information grabbers is ultimately about the faith of the elect. And you can't will yourself to be the elect. You can't will yourself to have faith if you don't have that gift. It's just not in you. You know, because for some brothers, they didn't need all Alexander and the generals. They didn't need to know all of that. They heard a couple precepts, and the faith that was in them was awakened. That's why Scripture says it's going to stir up your mind by way of pure remembrance. But if it's not in you, it's not in you concerning the faith. And that's all the information that we have through the Spirit. The ministry is set up for the edifying of the body, and that's to build up the faith that's already in the elect. But if you don't understand what the will of the Lord is, if you don't understand the foundation of what you're a part of, then it won't profit you. All right, and this is an example. This isn't a sprint. All right, it's a marathon through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And this is why Yahweh Shai exhorted to endure. Ye that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. Those who are able to endure are the ones who have faith, who have trust in Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and understand what the will is. They understand the signs of the times, and that is a blessing from Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But this isn't about information grab. And ultimately, only the elect are really going to truly understand that. All right, so let's go. Believe that. You know what? Let's get this one as well. This is Hebrews chapter 10 and 37. And it reads, for yet a little while, and he that shall come will come and will not tarry. Now the just shall live by faith. But if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul. And this is key, man. Everything that we know through the Spirit of power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is to reinforce the faith that you already possess. Lord willing, you possess it. You know, and this guy is an example, man. You know, I remember first hearing about the truth and coming across a few of his videos. You know, so, but this is an example that it's not about gathering information. It's not about being some master teacher. You know, when you deal with John, the 3rd chapter, what did the Lord tell Nicodemus? All right, it's John 3 and 1. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. All right, now I'm going to jump down. Let's start at 9. I'll start at 8, Salakia. I'll start at 7. I will start at 5. John 3 and 5. Yahweh shall answer, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Marvel not that I said unto thee, ye must be born again. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh, and whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. Nicodemus answered and said unto him, how can these things be? Yahushua answered and said unto him, art thou a master of Israel, and knowest not these things? And see, Nicodemus he's a learned man. But there are things that come from the Spirit, that it ain't about, you know, being a learned man. You know, if that's your main focus and you don't really understand, if you don't have that faith, if you don't understand what you're a part of, that will confound you ultimately. This is why a lot of people are confounded by, you know, these camps that are able to have 5 and 6 readers, but they really can't discern the signs of the times. They're just impressed by man's wisdom. You know, and the scriptures talk about that. Matter of fact, let's get that as well. This is 1 Corinthians 2 and 4. And my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You know, when you take note that Peter, Andrew were fishermen, you know, they were perceived to be unlearned men. It was so that no man could boast. You know, the Lord picked people. You know, when you deal with the disciples and the apostles, he didn't pick guys who were looked at as super deep, so that it wouldn't be according to man's wisdom. It would be according to the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And that's why this isn't about grabbing a whole bunch of information. It's ultimately about the faith of the elect and their ability to trust Yahweh Shem Yahushua in the midst of all uncertainty. All right, so Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwat, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.